Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Harjot Ghai. I'm the SVP of Professional Services at Obero Solutions, and welcome to today's webinar. In today's webinar, we'll be discussing what to consider when looking for a budgeting, forecasting, and planning solution. Our focus today is really to share with our clients and prospects on the line certain criteria they should look at when evaluating a solution for budgeting, forecasting, and financial reporting. Obero is a large provider, a large CPM services and sales provider for CPM software. We do have partnerships with multiple vendors in the market space, so we understand the space really well. So that's why we're able to do this webinar and provide our feedback and some of the things we've learned in the industry with you on this webinar. My role at Obero Solutions is I manage the professional services team, so I do have a lot of hands-on expertise and experience with CPM products. Prior to joining Obero Solutions 5 years ago, I used to manage professional services for the Northeast at IBM, and primarily the products I work for were Clarity, IBM TM1, Cognos BI, and Cognos FSR and CDM as well. So I've got a lot of expertise in the space, and we'll share it with you in today's webinar. So in terms of agenda, I'm just going to quickly discuss a little bit more background about our organization, Obero Solutions, for the folks on the line who don't know about us. I'll also share with you what corporate performance management really means. It's a term in the industry, but I'll kind of do a deeper dive in what it really means. I'll discuss some of the issues most of the customers who don't have a solution in place for budgeting, forecasting, and reporting. Typically they're using Excel, so I'll discuss some of the common issues we see in the industry with Excel. I'll also share some of the benefits of CPM solutions, so why clients use a solution and what the benefits are, what the ROI is on using a solution as well. I'll share with you some of the evaluation criteria. So if you are in the market for replacing your current solution, or if you're in the market for replacing Excel as a solution, I'll share with you some of the key evaluation criteria you should have. So whether it comes to implementation, whether it comes to features of the product, integration with your existing systems, some evaluation criteria that you should have when you're looking for a replacement solution. And lastly, I'll also discuss how Obero Solutions can help in the process as well. So Obero Solutions is an organization based in Toronto, Canada, but we do also have an office in the US as well as in Europe, in Bucharest, Romania. Our company focuses on corporate performance management, business intelligence, budgeting, planning and forecasting, and financial management reporting. We also focus on consolidations and close management, so we do have expertise in financial closing process as well as close management. We also assist clients with strategic planning and management. And lastly, one other focus area for us is our incentive compensation management. So we have a lot of expertise in the space of sales performance management, incentive compensation management, where you have to manage territories, quotas, and commission plans for your employees as well. Our bread and butter, though, is the really top point here is corporate performance management. This is where we specialize in, and we work with many of our customers on implementing solutions for budgeting, planning, and financial reporting. The company itself was founded over 5 years ago with former IBM service executives. I'm one of the partners and founders of the organization as well. We are what we call platform agnostic, and we provide business advisory and implementation services for our clients. When we say platform agnostic, what we mean by that is we are working currently with at least 7 different vendors for implementing solutions for budgeting, forecasting, reporting. Because we work with multiple products and multiple vendors in the space, we understand the strengths and shortcomings of each product. And this is why we can provide a lot of value to our customers, because we can share with them the strengths and weaknesses of the products and how it fits into their requirements. Right? So we don't necessarily believe that one product is best for every client. We feel that depending on the needs of the customer, the product will be dependent on the needs and requirements as well. We do have over 70 consultants, architects, project managers, and account managers. All of our employees are full-time. We do not hire any contractors. The reason we do this is to differentiate ourselves. That when you purchase a product or evaluate products with Obero, when it comes to implementation, you're working with our team as well for the implementation. We don't outsource our work; we keep it in-house and help our clients with implementation and making sure we put skin in the game as well. And lastly, as mentioned, our offices are in Canada, in Toronto, in US, and Europe as well. We have been growing really rapidly in the last few years as well. We've been recognized by Branham 300, TechNext, and CIO Review as one of the top growing Canadian companies in the industry, and are looking forward to continue growing our company as well. Some of the products that we help sell and implement with our clients, are on the screen right now. Most of these products, you probably recognize, some of the big players like IBM, Profix, Oracle, SAP. These are products we implement. But we also have more mid-sized cloud-based solutions that we sell and implement, such as Adaptive Insights, Vendor Solutions, Profix, Longview, and Anaplan, which are tailored more for mid-sized to enterprise-level clients. So we do have a lot of skills within our organization for each of these products, as we have our own dedicated services team for each product. Here's a quick NASCAR slide, as we call it, on some of our existing clients. We have over 150 customers that we work with. What I wanted to highlight here in this slide is that a lot of our clients are across different industries, different verticals. We have aerospace, we have financial services like Morgan Stanley, Prudential Financial. We also have insurance companies like Guardian Life Insurance, car manufacturers like Hyundai, universities like McMaster University, as well as University of Virginia. But what we want to highlight here is really that our expertise is really not across this one industry. We do focus on multiple industries, and depending on the implementation, we would bring the right skill set and experience from our team for your industry. So now CPM, what does CPM mean? CPM stands for Corporate Performance Management. It's essentially a set of processes that you enable for budgeting, forecasting, consolidation, and reporting. So Office of Finance, every finance organization is doing some sort of budgeting, forecasting, consolidations, and reporting. When you include these four processes within a solution, this is what we call a Corporate Performance Management solution. So overall, CPM solutions are used by organizations because it allows them to actually see the health of their organization. It allows them to see how their organization is doing for its actuals, how it's also looking to do in terms of their budgets and forecasts, so that there's clear visibility on how your company is tracking in terms of growth, as well as in terms of how it's competing with its competitors as well. It also allows organizations to incorporate their strategies for their organization into a solution such as a CPM solution, so that any of the results are measurable, right? So you have clear, measurable results in the CPM solution, and to track how you're matching to your corporate strategies as well. Now, a lot of clients, they don't use, if they don't have a solution that's automated, which I'll talk about, some of the reasons why clients use CPM solutions. If they don't have a solution for CPM, typically they're using Excel. Now, Excel is a great tool. It's a very user-friendly tool. But Excel also has its limitations as you grow in size. What we typically see, most of our customers, when they do purchase a product through us and implement through us, typically they are using Excel as a starting point, an Excel or their existing solution. Now Excel, some of the issues we see with Excel, especially with mid-sized and enterprise-level clients, is that you have disparate data sources. So with Excel, you're tying in data in Excel, but you have multiple data sources that you're saving that data to, or whether it's only in Excel. But it's hard to track the data. It's hard to link the data between Excel files and different workbooks, especially if you have different departments and offices that are not in the same place. Then you're sending emails back and forth to the Excel files. It's really hard to tag the data. It's also very difficult for accountability perspective. It's hard for you to manage, especially if it's a department using the same Excel file, who's made changes to the Excel file, what changes they made. It's very hard to audit and make people accountable for the data that's being inputted. So that's one of the other big issues with Excel as well. The third point here is really on knowledge transfer and training. If you have multiple data sources, it's not in a centralized data sources. Let's say you're using HFM for consolidations, or you're using S-Base cubes or TM1 cubes, and you're pulling this data into different Excel files. You have to train your staff how to be able to use these technologies to be able to see your data as well. So it is very difficult to train all employees as well. Another key issue with Excel is version control. Now, version control, when you have multiple iterations of your budget that you're doing in Excel, or you have multiple iterations of your forecast, typically it's hard to maintain the different versions that you have of data. Typically, what clients will do in Excel is they'll save different Excel files for the different dates that they have. And this becomes very hard to manage, especially if you have a long budget cycle. You're not going to have 50 different versions of Excel files across different departments. So version control is very difficult. In Excel, it's hard to also see who made any changes to data for version control as well. We also have difficulties, with Excel is solution maintenance. If you have different data scattered across different Excel files between different tools, it's very hard to extract the data between different files and link them and make sure that your consolidated data is actually, stable, and it's also the data integrity is good. So it's hard to do that within an Excel solution. And lastly is performance and stability. We typically see clients, if they have a very complicated Excel-based process, they've got huge workbooks with a lot of worksheets and a lot of macros, and performance, as the bigger the Excel file gets, the performance also degrades as well. So performance and stability is a big issue with Excel as well. Benefits of a CPM solution, regardless if it's an IBM product, if it's a Profix, Tagetic, Oracle, SAP, typically the benefits are the same regardless of what product you use. Most of the products was a single, what we call a single source of truth. What that means is that regardless of the different interfaces that the end user has, the data that they're pulling into their reports, whether it's Excel or through a web-based application, it's coming from a centralized database. And this way, having it in a centralized database, everybody's looking at the same data, regardless if they're in New York or Chicago or London. They're all pulling from the same database. So this ensures that there's a single source of truth for the data. Because the database is centralized, typically in a CPM solution, you also have more timely access to data. You don't have to search for Excel files or go to SharePoint and link different Excel files. You can access the data if you have security access to it straight from the centralized database itself. Transparency and control is also very important. Within a CPM solution, you can actually have audit trails, and you can also control it through security, so that if you don't have access to, let's say, Office A or Department A or let's say Entity A, you can control the security of your end users or by user or by role. And you can also use audit trail to actually see who's been logging into the application, who's been changing data for that particular data point through a CPM solution. Most of the solutions out there in the market have very detailed audit trail capabilities. Accountability as well. You can have, this leads to also process flow and workflow, but you can also have accountability and workflow set up in the application. So if I'm responsible for, let's say, Entity A, I have the ability to submit my data. I have the ability as an administrator to have somebody else review the data and approve the data for my entity before it's actually approved in the final budget, as an example. So within a CPM solution, you could have accountability by user setup, as by security setup, and then also set up workflows so that you know where everybody is in part of the budget forecast reporting cycles. And lastly, better decision making. Because you have the points above, in the solution, it makes it easier for you to make better decisions. If I need access to my actuals data, I don't have to chase people. I can actually go into the database and into the solution, pull the data, and be able to make intelligent decisions for my organization. So some evaluation criteria that we recommend to our clients is that if we're helping you look for a solution, and we do this a lot, we have what we call a vendor evaluation process at Obero, and we're working a lot with our clients and existing and new prospects, where we're working with them to identify solutions in the marketplace today that could be a good solution for them, whether it's replacing Excel or whether it's replacing Clarity, which is a product that IBM has. We'll work with our clients to get their requirements, and then based on the requirements, shortlist some of the CPM products that we recommend based on our expertise and experience, and then help the client ultimately determine what product's best for them and implement that product as well. But some of the key things that we look for in a solution for our client is ease of use. And I'll do a deeper dive into each of these points, but ease of use, vendor sustainability, performance, the architecture, the total cost of ownership, what's it going to cost to maintain this application going forward, obviously features, if it meets your requirements. Other key points are here implementation time. So some products take longer to implement than others, so it's also key to make sure that you're aligned with your vendor in terms of implementation times. Integration is always important as well. Most of the CPM solutions that we're using for budgeting, forecasting, and reporting, they're pulling data from different ERP systems, different GL systems, CRM systems, so you want to make sure that you understand what the integration capabilities are for the product you like with the existing solutions or systems that you have in place. Security requirements allows you to make sure that you allow access only to data points or reports or input templates to end users or roles that you want to give access to. So it's important to also making sure that the application can meet or exceed your security requirements. The last 2 points here are really more on the services team. A lot of times, we find that if the client's not happy with their existing solution, it might not be the solution itself. It might be just the way it was implemented by the services team. So it's very important to make sure that the implementation services team that you're going to be using on your project, they have enough experience with the product, but they also have enough experience with your business process or your industry, so that they can help you with best practices in design and implementation. And lastly, go live support. Once you're live, what's the go-live support that the vendor or your business partner provides? Are they available 24 hours? Are they available, at least during critical business time period that you have? It's important to making sure that you understand the post-go-live maintenance provided by the vendor as well. So ease of use, I put this as the first bullet point because I find in today's market space, clients are not necessarily looking for the product with the best feature. They're looking for the product that has the best user interface, which is user friendly, easy to use, where they can have a fast user adoption. So the benefits of using a product that's easy to use obviously is less training because if it's easy to use, you don't want to have your end users be trained in 2 weeks. You want them to be trained in 2 days. If it's an Excel-based product or has a similar look to Excel and feel, we find that it leads to faster user adoption as well. And typically products that are easier to use there's a good correlation that they're also lower to implement as well. And other benefits, by having an easy to use product is it allows me to make better decisions for your better decision making for your organization, and also allows you to have timely access to your data as well. So some questions to ask, the vendors or even us when you work with us is, does the interface of the product, is it similar to any existing solution, even if it's Excel that you currently have in play? The reason we say this is because if you're using Excel, then chances are, you may want to look at a solution that has an Excel look and feel because it leads to faster user adoption for your end users as well. And lastly is training. Many times we find we do demos and the client likes the product in demos, but they forget how much it's going to actually take of their effort to get them trained on both as an admin as an end user as well. So you want to make sure you understand how much training is actually involved to learn the product, to implement and maintain it as well. The next slide here is on vendor sustainability. This is also very important. If you look at the CPM Magic Quadrant that Gartner has, or if even if you search the different vendors that exist for budgeting solutions, you'll notice that there's quite a bit of them. Long gone are the days where it was only IBM, Oracle, and SAP. There's probably a good 20 to 30 different vendors that implement solutions or have a software solution for CPM. But what we find also is that you want to make sure that the vendor that you're working with or the software product you choose, that the vendor is continuously making R&D investment into the product, they're continuing to innovate and releasing newer versions of the product, which will ultimately help you as well. We always also make sure that you ask the questions to the vendor in terms of what their long-term plans are for sustainability. We have some customers, especially using Clarity. It was a good product, but it was acquired by IBM, and IBM is not investing too much into the product currently. So we have many Clarity clients. I think we have got over 100 Clarity clients we're currently working with, but many of them are starting to look at solutions to replace Clarity. And one of the key big questions we ask, or see them ask, is what's the vendor sustainability? They don't want to be in a situation 3 years or 2 years down the road where the product that they purchase gets acquired by another big vendor out there in the marketplace. Because obviously with that, you don't know the future of the product. It might be sunsetted, it might still be developed, but it's a question mark. So you want to ask what the vendor sustainability plans are. You want to ask them, do they want to get acquired, what their initiatives are, and how are they going to be ahead of this industry as well. Performance is very important, obviously, in any CPM application. So you want to make sure that when you're actually seeing any demos of the products, that performance is something you seriously consider of seeing. We do have some clients we work with that want us to do a stress test of the application as part of their vendor evaluation process to make sure that the application can manage the number of users they're going to have simultaneously. So you want to make sure that the performance is fast in the application. We find that typically it doesn't matter how good an application looks on the user interface. If the performance is slow, your end users are not going to like the application, right? So you want to make sure that the performance of the application is quick and it's fast. It can easily pull in data from the different data sources and also from the different cubes that it might require as well. So we want to also ask some questions with regards to the vendor, is what their roadmap is for performance improvement, because typically, especially if it's a product, let's say like SAP, they've got HANA, which is an in-memory relational database, but you also want to understand what the roadmaps are for these vendors as well, how they're looking to improve the performance of their applications based on industry, based on what's the current trend in technology as well. Architecture is also important. You want to make sure that no matter what application you use or look to use, that the application itself is on an open architecture. We find sometimes that if it's an IBM product like TM1 is a great product, but it's proprietary to IBM. So it's difficult sometimes if you want to look out in the marketplace or look for hiring external resources. It's hard to find that skill set. So you want to make sure that the application you're going to purchase or look to replace Clarity or another solution is an architecture that you're comfortable with. Right, so a lot of our technologies we work with are on a Microsoft stack or what we call analysis services cubes, And that's a very common technology in the industry, so it's easy for our clients to find resources or train resources on products like that. You also want to check, if it's an OLAP database that the application sits on versus a relational database. OLAP has its own benefits, relational database has its own benefits. Depending on your business process, we can also make some recommendations to you if you need more of a relational backend CPM solution or more of an OLAP-based CPM solution. Another key trend in the industry right now is in-memory processing. What we mean by in-memory processing is that the data that you need to retrieve, all the processing that you have to have as part of the application happens on the server side and it's in memory. So data retrieval is really fast, performance is really fast. Some of the marketplace, for the CPM right now for in-memory, some products include IBM TM1, there's also SAP HANA, and these are very fast solutions in terms of performance. You would also want to do scalability tests, to make sure that, as you purchase the application, that the application can, maybe in a demo it looks really fast, but, in a real world implementation, your performance might be degraded once you add more users to the application. So we do recommend to our clients, and we assist with the clients in this process as well, where we do stress tests to make sure as we add more load to the servers in the application, the performance doesn't get degraded. Lastly, integration with third-party tools. So, we find that clients, if they're going to purchase a product, let's say it's Anaplan or Tagetic, if their ERP is Oracle, if their ERP is SAP, or the ERP, let's say, is Microsoft Dynamics or Great Plains, you want to see if there's integration or connectors that these products or CPM solutions have with these other ERP systems or internal applications that you have. Integration connectors, what we call them, are beneficial in the sense that it speeds up implementation, but also reduces any customizations that you have to make as well. And lastly, a question to ask the vendors is, to make sure that the solution meets your IT requirements. We find sometimes a lot of our clients, they want to use a cloud-based solution 2 years from now or 3 years from now, but for now they want to go on-premise. So, these are the kind of questions that we want to make sure you address the IT, because if you do purchase an application that's on-premise, you want to understand what the migration path is, what the cost, what the effort is to go to a cloud, let's say 2 years down the road. So you want to make sure that any of the strategy that you have within your organization from your IT perspective, you're addressing those concerns and discussing those strategies with the vendor as well. Total cost of ownership, or what we call TCO, is, many times we find customers, will look at a sticker price for a software and then just base the purchase on that. We always tell our clients and prospects is that when you want to look at the total cost of ownership for a product, for CPM, make sure you not only add the software pricing and licensing, but you also include the maintenance. You also include if it's on-premise, how much hardware you have to purchase, what the internal cost would be to train your resources, what the annual maintenance is, and also lastly, what the services cost is, right? Because some products might be cheaper for licenses, but they may actually cost more to implement. So when it comes to total cost of ownership, these 4 or 5 bullet points we put in here, you want to make sure you address the cost for each of these points here as well. And lastly, just make sure you understand that, with certain vendors, if there's any hidden cost with purchase of the software. Sometimes we see, we do demos with our partners for prospects that, the partner might show, let's say, BI capabilities in a product, and the client or the prospect may think that these BI capabilities are included in the product they're purchasing. This is sometimes not the case. They may show a product that could be an add-on, but it's going to cost more, right? So you want to make sure that when you see demos, that you're making sure that everything you've seen in the demo is included in the price. Right? There's no hidden secrets that when you start implementing that you have to buy any more modules to implement your requirements. Features are also very important when you're looking at different criteria for evaluating products in the market. We typically tell our clients to make sure you differentiate key features that you need in the product versus nice to have, right? Because they shouldn't be weighted equally, because nice to have features, you may have one product that has all your nice to have features, but it may miss some of your key critical features, right? So make sure you look at a product that has most of your key features embedded within the solution, and the nice to haves obviously are good to be there as well, but they shouldn't be deal breakers, right? So make sure you prioritize your features to understand what things are nice to have versus key features that you need as well. The second point here is that you want to understand that you want the features that are important to you and not necessarily every single feature that exists under the sun, right? Sometimes too many features it makes it easier, or sorry, more difficult for end user to adopt to the product because there's a lot of buttons, there's a lot of menu items, and it confuses the end user as well. Third point here is making sure you understand what features are customized versus out of the box, right? A lot of times in a demo, you'll see some bells and whistles with the vendor that they're customized features, but not necessarily built-in product enhancements. Right? So make sure you understand what's customized versus out of box, because anything that's customized is going to typically cost you more money because of services engagement as well. So here I put down a few bullet points of some key features that most of our clients look for in an application. Workflow is very important. As I mentioned, it allows you to put process around your business as well as for budgeting, forecasting, reporting. So you can have ownership, accountability, where people submit their data that they're responsible for, people review the data that they're responsible for, and people approve the data that they're responsible for your budgeting, forecasting processes. And this way you can see in a more holistic way where your organization is as part of the budgeting process, who's completed and who's not completed. Data level security is also important. You want to make sure that end users can only see data that they have access to. Versioning allows you to have multiple scenarios or versions of your data, so this way you can compare that your budget approved versus, let's say, budget final or budget changed, or different iterations that you have. What if modeling allows you to have what we call what if scenarios, where you can, let's say, increase your revenue or expense percentage by a number that you input, or you can play around with your data and compare it to your working budget to see how it compares, and also revert back to that version as well. Unified database, as mentioned, one of the key benefits of a CPM solution is that it allows you to have a centralized unified database. This way, you have one single source of truth for your data, and you have end users who can access this data from different physical locations that they're in. Many clients also want to be able to do budgeting, forecasting at an employee level, and not all solutions do this well. So if this is a key requirement for you, where you want to budget and plan and forecast by employee, you want to make sure that you discuss this requirement in detail with the vendor to make sure that in the demos and any proof of concepts that you're doing, this is included for you to see. The last couple of points here is really on reporting. You want to be able to make sure you can report on transactional data. A lot of this is a requirement for most of our customers. They want to be able to see data or report on data at a GL level, but they also want to go down to a subledger or go down to transactional level details within the solution as well. And many products do this well, some products don't do this well. So if it is requirement for you to see transactional level data, not just OLAP or, let's say, rolled up consolidated data, then make sure you address this with the vendor during the sales cycle as well. And the last point here is ad hoc reporting. Ad hoc reporting is very powerful. It allows your finance users to be able to report on data that they have access to in their database without actually, calling an administrator and having them build a report. So ad hoc report allows you to easily slice and dice the data that you have in the database without building formalized reports or calling IT. Implementation time is obviously very important as well. We typically recommend to our partners and prospects that when you're looking at a solution, make sure you get an estimate for the services so that you know what the total cost of ownership is going to be, as well as for what the implementation costs are going to be as well. We also tell our clients to do product training prior to the implementation. This helps not only for the client to understand how the solution works and what the limitations and strengths are, but it also helps the client take on some of the tasks in the implementation. Not only will this make you more enabled, not only will this give you some hands-on experience, but it's also going to reduce your consulting costs because you wouldn't have to engage the consultants as much. In terms of the implementation as well, we want to make sure you put together a clear and realistic project plan when you start the implementation. A lot of times clients purchase an application, they want to go live in 2 weeks. Something that's definitely not realistic. We typically find that an implementation for phase one, a simple phase one, is at least 2 to 3 months, regardless of the solution. So you want to make sure you put a project plan which is realistic with your timeline as well. And lastly, last couple of points here as well. We do recommend when you implement a solution is to implement it in phases, and this is beneficial because it allows faster user adoption. It allows your end users to get comfortable with the solution, which is a quick win. And it also allows your end users to provide feedback on certain things that you could have done better. Maybe some reports and templates or input data entry forms that you built have to be redesigned. But it allows your end users to provide this feedback, and so you can make changes without going into phase 2 too fast. Integration with existing systems is also important. Again, this was more important, I would say, 3-4 years ago. Typically, we found that if a client was using Oracle for ERP or consolidations, they would lean to Oracle or Hyperion for budgeting, and they would also use Oracle Hyperion for reporting. What we see in the industry right now is that clients typically will purchase a solution that's best for that business process. So if you're using Oracle for ERP, great. But if for consolidations, maybe Oracle works well, that's great too. But maybe for budgeting, you like the more cloud-based solution. Maybe Hyperion Planning wasn't the solution for you. So you go with the budgeting solution that works best for your business process and reporting. It could be the same solution or maybe another BI solution. But integration is important, but I wouldn't say it's a deal breaker. If the integration exists between the solutions that you're looking for these different processes, it should speed up your implementation, lower your implementation costs. But I would say that it's more important to look for the product that's best suited for your business process, as opposed to choosing a product that integrates well with your existing solution. And some key points here on security requirements. You want to make sure that the security of the product, if it's SOC compliant, as an example of some of the cloud-based solutions, and also make sure that the security of the product matches your IT standards as well. Single sign-on is a key point. We want to use applications that's less clicks, less sign-ins. So single sign-on is important. So if they log into their Microsoft environment in your existing architecture or platform, then they should be able to log in directly through Active Directory or LDAP into the solution itself. You want to be able to make sure that you have administrators who can disable users. So this way, you can also disable users and give user access to other individuals without buying new licenses. This is important as well. You also want to make sure you have the ability to have security on reports as well as the data level itself, right? So it's one thing to be able to control who has access to a report, but you also want to make sure that the solution you look at also has the ability to lock down different data points and intersection points in the database by user and group as well. So this way you don't have to build multiple reports. You can have one report between two different groups or users, and based on who logs in, certain line items are hidden. And lastly, you want to make sure that the application has audit trail. This allows you to see any changes that are made to data, any security settings, any of the hierarchies, and so on. It should put a name for any changes that have been made and who made the change as well. For services teams, a key point I'll mention here is that, especially with the big vendors, we find that IBM, Oracle, SAP, you may purchase the software directly from the vendor, but a lot of times the services is going to get done by a subcontractor, or you may work with the subcontractor directly for these implementations. So, you want to make sure that if you are going to be using a partner versus the actual vendor for the consulting, you want to make sure you understand the pros and cons. Right? Not all partners are equal. Some partners are better in one product than others. So you want to make sure if you are going to be using a partner as opposed to using the vendor directly for the implementation, you understand that the partner has the competencies in that product as well. We also recommend to our prospects and clients to interview any of the consultants that you're going to use in the project. This way, you have a chance to find the right personality or for skill set for your project without having any issues in quality of work that's getting done as well. And you also want to make sure you're getting the best resources from the vendor or partner. Ask for their methodology and how they typically implement and what controls they have as well. And you want to control the project costs as well. So you want to make sure that you get all the costs for the implementation ahead of time and put some sort of not to exceed or put some sort of fixed price on it. So this way, if there's any overage, you're not held accountable as well, as long as the requirements don't change. And so this will help you control costs and make sure that you implement the solution on time and on budget as well. Post go live is also important. So once you're live on the solution, you want to make sure that you understand from the vendor how often hot fixes are released, what the process is to upgrade from a new version. Is it a lot of services? Is it a lot of IT involvement and so on? You want to make sure you discuss some of these questions with the vendor as part of your cycle as well. Also for consulting, a lot of times some applications, which are more user friendly. Obviously, once you've gone live, you can build your own reports, build your input templates. For some applications, once you've gone live, you may not have the skill set, whether it might be too technical, perhaps, to build your own, let's say, cubes or templates and reports. So you have to use consulting hours for that. So you want to make sure that once you've gone live, what's it really going to cost for you to maintain and sustain that application in your environment? Once you purchase the software or before you purchase it, make sure you understand what the annual maintenance is. Most times, the software vendor will give you an annual maintenance and they'll tell you what it's going to be for this year. But try to get from them what it's going to be in year 2, year 3, year 4, because a lot of times the vendor is going to increase their maintenance percentage that they charge you, without putting it on any sort of paper or contracts. And lastly, what's going to cost to add additional licenses? So, in the future, if you expand the usage of your application, make sure you understand what's going to cost to actually go ahead and, and add more users as you go forward. It's obviously different for on-premise deployments versus on the cloud deployments. On-premise, you may have to buy new licenses, whereas on a cloud-based or SaaS-based model, it's typically easier to buy just a new subscription for any new users that you're going to have in the application. With regards to how Obero can help you in finding the right solution for yourself, if you are in the market right now for looking for a CPM solution to replace Excel or Clarity or any of the solutions that you have, the one way Obero can help is we're one partner that can understand your requirements, understand your business pain points, and because we understand the different products, and because we are a partner with these different CPM products in the market right now, we can actually do our own demos. So based on your pain points, based on your requirements, Obero actually can do our own demos. We don't need to bring the vendor. And when we do our own demo with you, we do a deeper dive demo. And we don't just tell you, everything's possible. We tell you the strengths and limitations, but we give you a more under the hood demo as opposed to seeing a standard vanilla demo from the vendor itself. Based on your requirements, because we understand the strengths and weaknesses of each product, we'll recommend a solution we feel would be the best for you based on your requirements. And then lastly, is really implementing, right? Obero is not only a software company, but we're a services company. That's what our heritage is. Once you purchase the product, we would have our own dedicated team from Obero implementing the product. We don't use contractors. We don't outsource our work. We put our own skin in the game to make sure that we deliver a successful project. So some reasons why you can use Obero for some of your CPM requirements when it comes to finding a new solution is that you're one company that you're working with. We'll help you find the solution. We'll do the demos. We'll do the implementation. We'll work directly with the vendors, so you don't have to. Right? We have the experience that matters. We've been doing this I personally have been involved in the space for 10 years. Obero as a company has been 5 years. And we're a smaller company. We would like to say we're not too big, but we're not too small either. So we're right in the sweet spot where we're very responsive and we can put the right skill set on the project. And we are committed to your success. Our consultants, including our management team, including myself, we're compensated on the success of the delivery of our project. So our skin is in the game personally to making sure that you're successful as well. And lastly is we've got a lot of clients. As I mentioned, we've got over 150 customers. If there are any clients that you would like to speak to of ours, whether it's in your industry or whether it's a product that you're interested in they may be using, we would love to connect you with our existing customers so they can shine some more light on your questions as well as the solution that you're looking for as well. That concludes our webinar today for what to consider when looking for a new CPM solution for budgeting, forecasting, financial reporting as well. And if you do have any questions, feel free to email me. My email is on the screen right now, and I would love to address any of your questions. And I can also set up any follow-up calls, to address your questions as well. I did get one question during the webinar. Somebody asked, with regards to the software that we implement and sell, if there's a big difference between the pricing for the software when it comes to the big vendors like IBM, Oracle, SAP compared to the mid-sized vendors. So the answer there is yes. Typically, IBM, Oracle, and SAP, the price for the software, whether it's on-premise, or on cloud, is we find at least 25 to 50% more for the cost for the software itself than some of the more mid-sized vendors like Adaptive Insights, Anaplan, Tagetik, Vena, Profix. We find that the pricing for the big vendors is typically a bit higher for the software. The services, I wouldn't say it's any less, but it's the mid-sized vendors are typically a bit less for services than some of the big players like IBM, Oracle, and SAP as well. So this concludes our webinar for today. I want to thank you all for joining, and I appreciate your time, and I hope you found the information to be useful, and we'll connect very shortly. Thank you, everyone.